Hello, thanks for joining us here on France 24 for the business interview. I'm Tom Burgess-Watson. Today my guest is the man at the helm of Russia's largest employer, Russian Railways, a state-owned company with a staff of more than 1 million employees and a history that can be traced back some 170 years. They carry the equivalent of the entire population of China in passenger numbers every year across 9 time zones. Russia's rail network is third in size only to the United States and China. Vladimir Yakunin, president of Russian Railways, thank you very much indeed for joining us here in the studio at France 24, and welcome to Paris.
Thank you.
What brings you here?
I'm just accompanying Prime Minister of Russian Federation, Mr. Putin, who was meeting with his counterpart here, and he met with the Association of Franco-Russian Dialogue, which I am co-chairman. So that was the reason for my coming to Paris this time.
So you're in good company. And you've just been reappointed for another 4-year term as president of Russian Railways. What are you hoping to achieve during these next 4 years?
Listen, Russia is on the way of transformation, and the Russian Railways going the same route. And I suppose it is one of the most difficult and challenging projects, well, I guess maybe in Europe, maybe in the entire world, because 1.2 million employees, 85,000 kilometers of lines, 20,000 locomotives, etc. And you mentioned this is not directly state-owned company. This is public company, but 100% of the shares belong to the state. And the state is to decide what part of the shares to be privatized, what should be privatized, how to create the market of railway cargo operations or passenger operations, services. And, it was decided by the government that it should finish in 4 years. So this period of 4 years for us is to complete the plan of reformation.
And that seems to be the way many state-owned enterprises in Russia are heading towards privatization.
Well, I suppose yes.
Okay, and you're working towards a 4-year time frame, and the Kremlin is very keen, from what I gather, to really hasten that process. Maybe even less than 4 years. Do you think it's likely you could be fully privatized?
Listen, we have a very good saying in Russian, jokingly, it is not time to hurry, because we have, say, textbook example of better results of quite fast reformation of British railways. Now they are changed. They are changing the reform, the model, so they are coming back on the tracks, as we're saying, So from my point of view, everything should be done in proper time and properly.
Okay, now the Russian economy, like many economies in the world, has had a hard time these last couple of years. Do your passenger numbers and the figures that you're producing indicate that things are turning around?
Well, I suppose not even, the passenger figures, but I suppose the freight operation figure can be more precisely declaring what was happening in Russian economy. We lost at the beginning of the crisis like 40%. Then we raised up and we finished with minus 24%. Now we're still behind of the actual level, pre-crisis level, minus like 7%. So, likewise in global economy, everything is going up, but not leveled with the previous level.
So cargo is obviously a key part of your strategy. It must be a very important earner for you. Do you see a day when goods are, for example, transported from Europe to China via Russia, using Russia as a bridge between the two?
Well, already we have this kind of operation, but we are not satisfied that we cannot use the whole potential of this transit corridor because, of some aspects of our organization of the transport at all. But I would like to refer to the words of Mr. Prime Minister Putin, who once declared the necessity and interesting thing to have the transport railway corridor from the Pacific to the Atlantic.
That it's looking like that's becoming a reality.
Why not?
More than ever. Are there any issues there along the road, roadblocks, for example, governments that you're negotiating with a view to getting your rails, your railways routed through their countries? Is that posing any difficulty?
Yes, you're absolutely correct. Firstly, of course, this is technological aspect. We have different standards. The gauge. Our gauge is 1,520 millimeters, and the European normal gauge is 1,435 millimeters. But I suppose
what does that mean? Does that mean that trains at the moment have to be unloaded and
If we are talking about cargo, yes. Mm-hmm. You know, the wagon should be unloaded, and then everything should be put on the proper, wagon. Speaking about the passenger operation, then the bogies should be changed. But nowadays already we have, and we signed some agreement with foreign companies to introduce new technology when automatically the wideness of the bogies is changing. So it is quite pioneering, technology, if I may say so.
So we're seeing quite a phase of uniformity then coming to the world of rail. Railways seem to be having, to my mind, something of a renaissance. And we're looking at routes, the important routes for you, for example, like St. Petersburg to Moscow, which Correct. You can now do in 2 hours. Is that correct? Is it, or is it a little more than 2 hours?
No, this is 647 kilometers.
Okay, so how long does that take at the moment?
We are now introducing the service for the passengers to reach one city or the other. 3 hours 45 minutes.
So that's putting you in direct competition with the airlines, is it not?
Oh yes, and I suppose we are winning. Likewise in Europe.
And that's I mean, I'm guessing that's hurting their bottom line in quite a major way.
Yeah, but this is not even the very high speed line. This is the line with the speed of the train up to 250 kilometers, and we would like to introduce 300, 400 like in Europe.
So if trains keep getting faster, and aeroplanes don't seem to be getting that much faster, do you see a day in the near future when your competition is you're competing with the airlines on the long haul routes as well as these sort of shorter haul routes?
Yeah, listen, we should count the privileges of railways. From the point of view of environment, we are the best. From the point of view of security, we are the best. From the point of view of the amount of the freight we can carry, we are the best. So from this point of view, of course, I suppose the future of railway transport, or maybe some futuristic railway, transport, is very bright. And already now I know that there are some kind of researchers in the field of magnetic levitation transport, or vacuum tube transport, and then the speed can be reached 700 kilometers per hour like the plane.
Well, even faster, getting even faster, heading that way. Well, staying with that foreign theme, Russia has been cooperating with a number of foreign countries involved in lots of projects overseas, including here in France. Tell us a little bit more about that, what you're doing with France.
Well, we are quite satisfied. Just recently we convened a conference, this Franco-Russian dialogue, and Prime Minister Putin was addressing the people there. Firstly, he stated the support our efforts to increase cooperation, the level of understanding between societies, not only business societies, but the civil societies, right? And for example, I can give example, right during this conference, say the head of Russian space consortium declared that they were going to sign agreement with the French counterparts. And myself, I am involved in cooperation with Alstom, for example. And we are quite satisfied with this cooperation. So I suppose we have a very serious possibilities to increase this.
Now, Russia is increasingly an attractive place for foreign investors, but one thing remains very much in the back of their minds is the question of corruption in Russia. And Transparency International ranks Russia in 154th place on their survey. That's 20 places from the bottom. That puts you equal to Papua New Guinea and a few places below Nigeria and Haiti. Why is this?
Listen, all these ratings, I'm very doubtful. I'm professional in business fair. I can give you example. Just a year ago, a very reputable rating agencies that were placing Russia due to the investment climate below North African countries. What do you think about this rating today? Or the president of World Bank stated that Russian investment climate can be compared only with that of North Korean. For the professional like me, this is mockery. So, there are a lot of real things to tackle. But, it is not possible to see only one side of the life. Well, I mentioned, French companies, Alstom, Bouygues, Tefal. They are quite satisfied with, to work and to invest in Russia. I can name a lot of European companies. They are also very much involved in cooperation with Russian railways and not Russian railways. Listen, bankers in the West, during the severest, period of the crisis, they were giving loans to the Russian railways just on my name.
But there is a degree of acknowledgement, isn't there, from Moscow, and President Medvedev has been saying that he would like to see corruption tackled head on. That there are steps in place. Is it working? Are things getting more attractive and easier for foreign investors coming to Russia?
Listen, I am relatively a rank and file person in this field. I am not involved with the governmental structures or with the governmental policy. I am pure Russian, and I can tell you that people who are reading newspapers in the West, looking broadcasting from TV, and then arriving to St. Petersburg or Moscow or other places, they see a different Russia.
Okay, well, I'm afraid that's all we've got time for. It's been very interesting talking to you. Thank you very much to my guest today, Vladimir Yakunin, President of Russian Railways. Thanks to you for watching. Do stay tuned. More news coming up shortly here on France 24.